light. It's got to be the camera. I don't know what it is.
Oh, yeah, we can't see your face.
Well, that's good, right?
Yeah. Or maybe I'll try my.
So when I'm making faces at you guys, you don't see me doing that.
Oh, I don't care if you make a face. I never care. I got thick skin.
Yeah, I'm going to have MIS correct that.
Close your background. It's the blind over your shoulder in the background.
Nah, I've already tried that.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll work. It's dusk. It's almost.
Well, it's just because it's so bright behind you that
Right.
you're like shadowy. Because when I have my blinds open behind me, that happens to me.
Joe, you see the painting in the room I'm sitting in? One of our favorite artists.
And Montague Dawson?
No, Sergio Rofo.
Oh, yes. Right.
That is nice.
Guy's phenomenal.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see what else is here.
Chris, open it back up. It was better before.
Oh, you're rotten.
That's all right.
Yes, it was better before.
He'll get his.
Who remembers, I don't know if Laura Swistek's on the line. How many fireworks demonstrations can we have a year? We put a limit. I think it was 8.
Correct.
It is 8.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Everybody.
Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Lynn. Hi, Laura. Hi, Angela. Hi, Charlie.
Oh, I got to find my face here. Okay, there we go. This room in my house is so quiet.
Okay, it's 6:30, so I'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, could you please read the roll?
Jamie Bova,
Here?
Lynn Underwood Segley,
Here.
Elizabeth Fuerte,
Here.
Charlie Holder,
Here.
Catherine E. Leonard,
Here.
Angela McCalla,
Here.
and Jean Marina Napolitano.
Here.
There's a quorum present, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands, one nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
for all. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to our bi-monthly meeting. And Madam Clerk, if you can, has anybody signed up for the Citizens Forum?
Yes, Bonnie Watson.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to talk briefly about ethics in government. Madam Chair and councilors, you may think of yourself as ethical and law-abiding persons, but that might not be enough once you are elected or appointed to a public office. I'm sure you're aware, but I'll just repeat this for the public. Rhode Island has specific laws and ethical standards that apply to the conduct of both elected and appointed officials. These laws are intended to prevent favoritism and to assure that public officials are truly serving the public rather than reaping personal benefit from their positions. The voters' trust in you is the hallmark of a fiduciary relationship. Supreme Court Justice Cardoza, in the classic case Meinhardt versus Salmon, stated that a trustee, in other words, a fiduciary, is held to something stricter than the morals of the marketplace. Not honesty alone, but the punctilio of an honor. The most sensitive is then the standard of behavior. That's a quote. Certain types of conduct which might be permissible in the context of an ordinary business deal are off limits to a fiduciary because of special attributes. In other words, the power and influence gained by virtue of the public trust. The courts have further defined what Justice Cardozo referred to as the punctilio of honor standard. The duty of undivided loyalty, basically requires a fiduciary fiduciaries to put their interests above their own and to refrain from profiting at the public's expense. In other words, no self-dealing. The duty of utmost good faith requires a fiduciary at all times to treat their constituents fairly and equally. One person, one vote. No one special interest gets the majority of the votes. The country is again waking up to money in politics and the connection between voting patterns and specific campaign contributions, those that are reported. Not all in-kind contributions are transparent, but there are federal laws and federal investigative powers that apply in these cases. I appreciate your time, counselors.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, and also John Hirschbach
Okay,
expressed.
John? John, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Mayor, and good evening, council members. Today, I just received word from Mother Nature, who promised that all those green shoots emerging from the ground are about to explode in a blaze of bright yellow daffodils this April. And of course, that means it's just about time to go daffy here in Newport. And this month, we're going to celebrate their arrival throughout the entire month with Newport Daffodil Days. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we've had to once again cancel our festival. So instead, we planned for a variety of safe distanced, all family outdoor activities that will be listed on the Discover Newport calendar and at newportdaffydays.com. And also to support our retailers who desperately need help and are emerging from the pandemic, we're excited to partner with Newport in Bloom this year to help them get the yellow out with a daffodil window decorating contest, along with a Wear Your Daffy Pin and Get a Daffy Deal program. Both will attract visitors and shoppers to view the over 1,200,000 daffodils we've purchased, planted, and given away, and to then shop and dine at our Newport merchants and restaurants, not only during restaurant and hotel weeks, but throughout the entire month. Unfortunately, with the cancellation of both this and last year's festivals, we have insufficient funds at this point to continue our free bulb giveaway in October. So we're now seeking online donations via the Newport in Bloom website in the hope that we can continue the tradition. Thank you, everyone, and let's plan to go daffy.
Thank you, John.
John.
Thank you, Laura. Okay. Is there anyone else? No? Okay.
The consent calendar.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the consent calendar so far with these exceptions, B1, B4, and G. Does anyone else have another item to pull?
Hearing none.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, clerk, take the roll, please.
Jamie Bova.
Aye.
Lynn Underwood Segley. Elizabeth Fuerte,
Aye.
Charlie Holder,
Aye.
Catherine E. Leonard,
Aye.
Angela McCalla,
Aye.
Jean Marie Napolitano.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Application for a special event, Bowen's Wharf Company, Newport Oyster and Chowder Festival.
Counselor Leonard?
Yes, thank you. I asked that this be pulled because I just have a question that I would like answered if possible. I see that this event has a liquor license attached to it, and that the liquor license is under the Oliver Hazard Perry, which is a very good opportunity for students to go sailing. But my question is, are some of the proceeds from the Newport Oyster and Chowder Festival going to the Oliver Hazard Perry? And is that why the event is using that license? And if somebody's here from that organization, it'd be nice to have an answer.
I do see someone that just says Bowen's Wharf Company.
Okay, proceed, please. Will the call-in listener from Bowen's Wharf Company please proceed?
Okay. Hi there. This is Adrienne Kruger. I'm the marketing communications manager for Bowen's Wharf. So yes, we do have a partnership with Oliver Hazard Perry as an organization. They are currently docked at our marina for the off season free of charge. So we're giving that space to them in kind. And we do have an arrangement to give them a percentage of the proceeds of the ticket sales from the Friday night portion of the event, which is in the past been kind of a benefit for different nonprofits, mostly just for OHP, and then also the Nature Conservancy, who provides volunteers for the event. So we're still working with the Nature Conservancy on working out those details, but yes, the idea is to have OHP be a direct benefactor of the overall event, probably from the Friday night portion, because that will be a higher ticket price and kind of be framed as a more like exclusive benefit party.
Okay, thank you. So you've answered the question. I appreciate it. So I make a motion to approve.
Wait a minute, I think we have another counselor. Counselor Holder, do you have a question, please?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Adrian, how you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good. Listen, there's probably no one on this council that wants to see our businesses get back to whatever is our normal before COVID.
Yeah.
But I do have a couple questions, and I'm sure by the time the Oyster Festival rolls around, everything should be back to our usual business. But just curious, so with this, you have 2-hour sessions going on, 150 people per session, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, how do you make sure during the changeover in sessions that people aren't going to be, too many people are congregated in such a small space?
Yep.
That looks like between the wharf.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a good question. And, that's our biggest concern, obviously, with holding the event, is being able to have a controlled environment. So we're actually working very closely with a gentleman by the name of David. His last name is escaping me, but he's with the Salt Pond Oyster Company and represents all of the oyster growers for the festival for many years now, and has actually produced the Ocean State Oyster Festival this past September in Providence. That was considered a huge success, and obviously abided by all of the guidelines then as well. So we have basically hired him as a consultant to work with us to make sure, you know, we're doing everything as we should. And the logistical setup will be different at Bowen's Wharf compared to Providence, obviously, but that's why we're really kind of relying on our tent space to be like the primary event like layout. And that's where you'll see on the site plan, we've really limited the event site plan to the tent space. And those are all of our personally owned tents by the company. So we're going to utilize all those. They've already been submitted to the fire marshal for approval, but basically we're going to put up all the sides so that people cannot come in and out freely as they have in the past, and they'll be given a wristband by session. So when they purchase a ticket for, say, the 12 o'clock session on Saturday, they'll be given a blue wristband, and everyone on staff will know that they're there for those 2 hours. And then we'll have a half an hour in between where the staff, you know, clears out all of the tent space and kind of desanitizes everything. And then there will be a new wristband color for the next session. And Dave Roebuck is instrumental in making sure that we, you know, like he knows firsthand how it works. He did that exact same structure for the Oyster State or the Ocean State Oyster Festival. And we're confident, you know, by working with all of our neighbors on the wharf and kind of limiting the tent space, that obviously we're going to maximize the capacity, but also take into consideration, you know, the guidance at the time. So yeah, and we're flexible to also like adjust the number of sessions and how long they are based on logistical planning down the line, which we're kind of ready to plan, but obviously wanted to get approval from the council before moving forward with those plans.
Right, and you said the tent's gonna have, they will have sides on them?
Yes, there will be some areas that need to be open just for staff and volunteers to come and go, and for the vendors to be able to access their back tables. But in general, yeah, like the sides that are along the north side of the wharf will be on, because we'll obviously want to be able to prevent the public from coming into the event. And we're also completely eliminating all of the tables that are normally set up outside in the right of way near the anchor, outside of 22 Bowens. Like there will be no tables outside for people to kind of linger at and sit down if they're not a ticketed patron with a wristband.
Okay.
All right, great. Thank you. I hope it goes off really well. I really do.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Holder. I believe there was somebody from, did I see a hand up before? A Jelly Knight? Maybe not. Okay.
Yes, she's also from Bowen's Wharf Company, so
Oh,
I
okay.
might have been trying to respond before I was able to unmute myself.
Okay. Thank you, Adrian. Are there any other questions from the council? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Madam,
Motion passes unanimously.
thank you.
Application for a fireworks display, Stephanie Farisi at Ochre Court.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilor Leonard.
I ask that this be pulled because the city of Newport allows 8 fireworks displays for private events. And I called Salve because I saw the 100 Ochre Point Avenue to ask if this were a Salve sponsored event, was told no, that it wasn't. It's for a private wedding. And the reason I called is because I see in the application that these fireworks would be done by the Ocean State Pyrotechnics, where we had complaints in the past. But these fireworks are not on a barge. These fireworks are on the lawn. And around that property are several historic homes, and Ochre Point itself is a large historic home. So this application was not by Salve, it's for a private wedding. And I really think that from the limit that we have, that this type of event for one wedding that's on the lawn rather than a barge could be problematic. So I just want to say that I can't support this. If it were on a barge, I would think about it differently, but we do have limits. And I think that because we have so few that we allow, it's really, in my opinion, not wise to just have every applicant apply and grant them, because we don't have many to give out. And it's not a public event.
Is there anybody here from either the fireworks display or the Pharisees? Okay, we do have somebody from the public. Bonnie Watson, proceed.
Madam Chair, I just want to support Councilor Leonard's concerns. I live on Catherine Street in the historic top of the hill neighborhood, the K Catherine area, and we are routinely barraged with private fireworks displays late at night, at least late for those of us who live here and are in our 60s and 70s, you know. So I think, considering everything Councilor Leonard has stated, I would wholly support that position, that we should really stick with the displays where the persons providing them have followed the rules and reward them, and not those that have been violating our rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comments from the council?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilor Bova.
Thank you. I had a question for the clerk. Could you tell us how many firework events we've approved thus far this year?
I believe one that you've approved. That's off the top of my head.
Yeah.
It might be two, but there have not been many applications before you.
Okay, thank you.
Get that answer for you if you need it.
No, because that was kind of what I expected, but I figured you would probably have a better recall than me. But I also wanted to ask the city solicitor, you know, based on the language that we have in our ordinances, like what our leeway is, or, you know, legislatively, where are we in terms of making the decision on which to allow and which not to allow, if they are within the rules that are provided in our ordinance?
Well, certainly if their application conforms to the ordinance, there's still some discretion in the council, but the reasons for it should be, if it's not going to be granted, should be articulated and not just based on supposition. I mean, maybe the better way to deal with this, if the council did not want to give out these licenses, is that just prohibit any private fireworks displays. But right now, do you have some leeway? Yeah, there's still some discretion on issuing the license if there is a failing based on articulated, reasonable, objective criteria that is not in the best interest of the city.
Right, because I agree with Councilor Leonard, especially having the fireworks right on site like she was saying, and the potential risks there. I mean, I would like to understand more the difference between the barge and the onsite, but I don't know that we necessarily have, it's within the rules. So to me, it felt like we couldn't necessarily say no.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Bogo. Councilor Segley, please.
Yes, thank you. I sort of agree with Councilor Leonard, but at the same time, it doesn't seem fair to me that if we have 8 to approve, that we're picking and choosing the ones that we like and don't like. I'm not sure that that's really the fair way to go. And I think that the neighbors, when this is obviously done by a professional company, so the neighbors, when people launch their fireworks, from their backyard, is a scary situation. But this is done by a professional company, and I'm sure. I mean, I'm not sure that they are violating any ordinances by applying for this.
Councilor Bean, do you know if the fire department is involved at all prior to licensing larger fireworks displays?
Yes, it has to be approved by the fire department. The application seems to indicate that they received the approval from the fire department.
Okay. Councilor Leonard?
I think the big issue here really is that this is on the lawn and not on a barge, number one. And I can tell you from a lot of feedback I get during fireworks displays that the closer proximity to buildings, the more apt cinders and flying debris come near the roofs of the houses. And that happened last September, lots of complaints on Ridge Road. And I think that the fact that it could be a potential hazard being on a lawn, I can't support it. I just think of the public and the homeowners, people that own the buildings. And I hate to be fresh, but somebody that comes in for a wedding and wants a 5-minute display that doesn't own any property around it.
Yes, Councilor Segley.
Yes, I mean, as of now, that not having it on a barge and having it on the lawn is not part of the ordinance. So I don't see how we can reject this, because if we want to put that in an ordinance, that's fine. But for tonight, it's not in an ordinance, and we have never even discussed that. So I just don't see how we can actually justify rejecting this.
Councilor Holder.
Yes, thank you. So if we're only allowed to have 8 firework displays, at some point we have to reject, different applications. So how do we, my question is how you go about picking and choosing? Because what do? Take the first 7 applications and plus our own 4th of July fireworks, and then that's it? Or, what? I don't understand what the why is the limit.
Perhaps, since we should revisit that ordinance. Obviously, we couldn't do it now, but revisit the ordinance or the numbers allowed. We may want to reduce that amount in the future. Yes, Councilor Leonard.
Well, we still have discretion under our ordinances.
Yeah,
So-
I agree. Okay, are there any other comments? Are we ready to vote? All in favor of allowing the fireworks display at Salve on September 18th, 2021 from 9 to 9:05, please raise your right hand. All opposed? Clerk?
Motion passes 6-1. Counselor Leonard is opposed.
Thank you.
Communication from the Newport Planning Board and the Newport Waterfront Commission regarding a proposed dock at 80 Washington Street.
Yes,
Council-
this is something that was pulled by Councilor Leonard. Thank you.
Okay. I asked that this be pulled because I made some phone calls. I learned a little of the history, and this is on the docket for a receive, really not a vote. And I know that this proposed dock went to the Newport Waterfront Commission, and it had also gone, I'm told, to CRMC, where it was not given a vote of a positive vote. So from what I understand, and the solicitor can verify this, I would suggest that we receive the communication from the planning board and the Waterfront Commission, and that the policy to appeal the decision would go back to CRMC. I think that's how it normally works. And so I would make a motion that the applicant, if he wishes to appeal, would go back to CRMC to appeal it there.
Second.
It can, Madam Chair, if I could jump in, Crispy, and just want to correct the record. I don't believe there was any CRMC denial of it. I think what the applicant was trying to do, if they received a no objection correspondence from the council, if the council had agreed that they didn't have an objection, they would have a streamlined approval process with CRMC. Otherwise, they have to follow a normal process of an application with public hearings. So I think that's just to correct the record on that. And I think Councilor Leonard is correct. The only thing you can really do tonight is just receive it. And then it will play out through the CRMC process.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McCalla?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to agree with all the sentiments. I actually, when going through this and reviewing this and understanding from the planning board, understanding, considering the potential impact to the public right of way and the heightened concerns about public access to the water, I think it is essential to recommend to strongly urge the additional opportunity for public input through the CRMC hearing.
Thank you. Director Reynolds of Planning, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to give a little bit of additional information regarding the planning board's participation and sort of what happens at the CRMC level. So the applicant is proposing a dock, the resident at 80 Washington Street, and this dock is going to be too close to the side setback that CRMC establishes. So when they submitted the application, CRMC looked at the application and they said that when this happens, you can seek a letter of no objection, which is kind of a funny term, but you can seek a letter of no objection from the affected property owner. And in this case, the affected property owner is the city, because this is directly abutting a public right-of-way, Walnut Street. And so the planning board reviewed it, and they found that this application was not consistent with the goals of the comprehensive plan to provide consistent access to the waterfront. And they were also concerned with proposed impacts of the dock. And so they suggested that the city not issue a letter of no objection. So it's a little funny sounding that we don't issue something is actually the action that we were taking. And not issuing this letter would trigger a public hearing at the state level. So this will go and there'll be an opportunity for the people to weigh in, because the planning board also felt there hadn't been adequate access for the public to give input on this. And if anybody has any other questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Thank you for that clarification. Councilor Holder?
Yeah, I'm just curious. In front of me, I have a letter. We have a letter from the Waterfront Commission saying they approve it, but
Right. So from CRMC, the Waterfront Commission, they look at this from the water side, and their input is really valuable and important. But CMC requires that this also be a decision because of the effect on the land side of it from the planning board and the city council.
Now, has the CRMC received an application already as well?
They haven't accepted it yet because they're waiting for this letter of no objection. If they can't obtain a letter of no objection from the city, this will then go before the CRMC council, and they'll have a public hearing at that point.
And then once CRMC gets an application, they will then send letters to the abutters, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
They have a different, they have a different public hearing process, how they notify it. They don't actually send letters out, but they do have an opportunity for public input.
Thank you.
Perhaps when you know what the date is of that meeting, that you can advise the city so that we can advise particularly the residents in that area and others. Councilor Segley?
Yes, I have a question for Solicitor Bean. So because this is just a receive on the docket, we cannot make a motion to not provide a letter of no objection. These double negatives making me crazy. But so if by receiving it, is that in essence doing the same thing by
Yes.
providing a letter? Okay.
Yes, you're not taking an affirmative step of providing it, so they are going to have to go through a full council application, as Director Reynolds had just correctly described. So if you just receive it, that's basically the end of it at this stage.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions? I see there's one calling, Bonnie Watson from the public. Ms. Watson?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I just would like to note for the record that I believe Councilor Leonard has a direct conflict of interest in this matter and should not be voting. And I'll take up my concerns separately with the city councilor. The city solicitor.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Leonard?
I'd like a clarification on that because I have nothing to do with any property on Washington Street. So I don't understand why that comment came in. That particular property I'm not even aware of. So to say that I have a conflict, I find rather disingenuous.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to receive.
Yes. Council, are we ready to vote? All right. Motion to receive, please raise your right hand. Opposed?
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Application for a special event license, road races and events, DBA Newport Road Race, Easton's Beach, May 22nd, 2021, from 7:30 to 1:30.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
are there any questions?
Yep.
Yeah, Councilor Leonard?
This event is for May, and I stated my concerns in the last meeting, and I know that the applicant has tried to resolve these issues, but we're still talking a lot of people, the month of May, and even though they won't have a tent and they won't have any after event gatherings, that really does not mean that all the people who come will not be in town, and we can't control where people go. And the number of runners, I think, was altered. Let me see if I can find the number.
1,000, Kate.
Yeah, so we're talking 1,000 people in May, and that's a lot closer than the July events that we talked about a little before this docket item. So I'm just really concerned with the public health. And, you know, maybe the COVID numbers won't be bad then, but they certainly have not been good of late. They've actually gone up instead of down. So my conscience just can't let me vote in the affirmative.
Okay, Councillor Bova?
Thank you. I wanted to ask the city manager, I know that city staff worked with the organizers to find a new date and to kind of go through some of the safety regulations. So I was wondering if the city manager could kind of talk through if there were any changes from the last application other than the date. I don't.
Really, other than the date, Jamie, it bought us another month. The applicants have worked pretty hard, I would suggest, along with city staff in maturing this process. And the only thing I would have to say, it's no different than what we said the last time we visited this, and that it's subject to Rhode Island Department of Health's recommendations, as well as Department of Business regulations. But otherwise, the city staff is happy with how things have turned out. And Kate's right. We'll just see where we are closer to May 22nd. And if things are upside down or sideways, and we all have a problem, but hopefully we'll be in great shape. And you just approved the Chowder Festival, because the same would hold true for that as well. If things go, if things are not good in a month, but I can simply suggest to you the glass is half full, and we're all being optimistic that things are going to be well, if you will, in May. And but if they're not, we'll react accordingly. But the most important thing I can tell the applicants is just to continue to stay in contact with the Rhode Island Department of Business regulation, as well as RIDO, as to how to run their events. Things may change. Things may change for the better. They may change for the worse. And that's the key.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holder?
Yeah, I'm gonna vote to approve this race. I think we've given them, the opportunity to make some changes, which they have. I think they brought up a lot of good points about the safety protocols that they use. I know the runners are, they're extremely disciplined in what they do. I don't think it's going to be a free for all, like, that some people may believe it is. Middle of May is not the middle of summertime. So, you don't know what the weather is going to be like either. So, but I've talked to some other people who run in races in New England in the past few weeks. And there hasn't been any issues as far as those races have gone, and as far as any spread of COVID, there hasn't been any trace of that either. So I'm going to vote to approve the race. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions from the council? Hearing, there's one call-in listener. Yes. Susan Rancourt?
Yes, I just wanted to mention, and to address Councilor Leonard's concerns, we certainly understand them. So we wanted to give you some more information that we actually hadn't shared yet, but we had been hearing from a number of our participants that they were already vaccinated. So we actually did a quick informal poll of our registered participants, and these numbers are so exciting that we wanted to share them. Already, 50% of our field has been vaccinated, our runners. And according to our poll, the second question I asked them was if they're assuming widespread availability by May 1st, 87% plan to have at least one shot by May 1st. And then we had another 7% that already had antibodies from a previous COVID test. So those numbers they were incredibly positive, but not really surprising considering runners are some of the most health conscious, disciplined, and goal driven and rule followers that there are. But it certainly made us feel a little bit better. And it probably explains why there hasn't been any COVID transmission at a road race, because of this demographic and this trait.
Okay, thank you, Susan. Councillor Leonard?
Well, that makes me feel better too. Thank you. That was good information.
Okay, are we ready to vote? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed?
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Application for a vittling license renewal, Duckett's Inc., DBA Colonial Restaurant, 175 Memorial Boulevard.
Motion to approve?
Second.
There's a motion and second discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Madam Clerk?
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Application for a vittling license renewal, Cafeology Inc., DBA Cafeology 359 Thames Street.
Motion to approve?
Second.
There's a motion and a second discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed?
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Application for a vittling license renewal, Karma Pizza Company, DBA Karma Pizza, 446 Thames Street.
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Counselor Leonard.
Yeah, I read the memo from the city solicitor, and he said if we voted to approve, then the show cause hearing would be dismissed, I believe. So my question is, has the establishment Karma Pizza resolved all their issues of licensing?
Could the clerk? Oh, sorry.
Crispy and city solicitor, what they're looking for is a license. The issue was that they were operating without the renewal of their victualling license, and the clerk had to chase them down on that. And we issued the show cause hearing to get them moving on this. So they have filed. And so if you do grant the victualling license, they otherwise qualified for the victualling license. The issue was that they had not applied for it.
All right,
And
so they did
we've
apply
made it
for
clear
it.
to them.
Yeah, all right, so they did apply for the one that they had not applied for, and this
Yeah,
is
renewed.
Renewed, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I make a motion to renew.
Okay, there's,
Motion on the floor to approve?
yeah, motion and second on the floor.
Yeah.
So, okay, all in favor. Are we ready to vote? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed?
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Application for a mobile food establishment truck, Dumb Luck LLC, DBA Pierogatori, 1 Cedar Tree Lane, Coventry, Rhode Island.
Motion to approve?
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and second to approve. Discussion? Counselor Leonard?
I just have a quick question. How many of these licenses have been approved so far? Because I know we have a limit.
Prior to this council meeting, 2.
Okay, and our maximum is?
6.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Counselor Bova? No? Okay. Are we ready to vote? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed?
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Application for a mobile food establishment truck, Castaway Gourmet LLC, DBA Castaway Gourmet, 60 Selena Lane, Portsmouth, Rhode Island.
Motion to approve?
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed?
Motion passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Application for a pedicab business license renewal, James R. Brown III, DBA New England Pedicab, 4 South Edgewood Road, Niantic, Connecticut, for 2 pedicabs, May 1st, 2021 to April 30th, 2023.
Motion to approve?
Second.
There's a motion and second. Counselor Leonard?
One more time, how many licenses have we given out? How much so far? And what is the limit for the pedicabs?
With these two that you're approving tonight, that is it.
Oh,
That
okay.
is, there's a total of,
6.
yeah, 18, sorry.
There's
Total
a,
18.
right, so that's actual 18 pedicabs. So this
Yes,
would be 2 more pedicabs and that reaches the limit. Is that correct?
with these two that you,
Right.
if you approve
Yeah.
these, yes, that is
Okay,
the limit.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Are there any other questions from the council? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Oh, wait a minute. Oop. Can I'm sorry, rules of order. Can I ask a question? These are 2 more pedicab licenses, and I want to bring up again the safety of the areas where there's no street lighting. And when this was on the these were on the docket, different ones last meeting, the applicant stated that they would not go in those areas after dark. I'm concerned about safety. So I wonder if there's anybody if James Brown is here to give us his comments about where he would go, where there are no street lights.
Yes, Mr. Brown? I know he's here.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I heard about the discussion from the last meeting about Ocean Drive, and we don't go out there at night at all.
Okay,
I pretty much limit myself to downtown.
thanks. I just want you safe. If I were peddling that, I'd be in the cardiac unit, so.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for explaining.
Okay. All right, are we ready to vote? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed?
Motion passes unanimously, Madam Chair.
Thank you, clerk.
Application for a farmer's market license, Aquidneck Community Table, DBA Aquidneck Growers Market, Memorial Boulevard at Chapel Street, Wednesdays beginning May 19th through October 27th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay.
There's a motion and second. Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, sorry, I did not put my hand up in time, but anyway. I was wondering if Bevan Lindsley is here to discuss this issue on Memorial Boulevard.
Is there anyone here from, oh, yes.
Here.
Yes, please proceed.
Yes, good evening. This is Bevan.
Hi, Bevan.
Hi, Lynn.
I just, again, have my concerns about this area, and I just need to know what efforts have you made to find another location? And after last year's meeting in May, you said that you've continuously looked but have not come up with anything. And yet you've had the, Easton's Beach, Pell School, and the Visitor Center. So why is it so difficult to find another location that might be less dangerous?
Thank you. That's an excellent question that we have been exploring for several years now. And in all the locations that we have given consideration to, it seems that we would be exchanging one set of traffic issues and parking challenges for more of the same in a different location. We are working on long-term plans, but they are long-term plans, so we don't have an alternative site as yet, which means that we continue to be very vigilant about safety of pedestrians crossing the road and reducing parking as much as possible. And we are also hopeful that given that COVID will in all likelihood restrict the number of people attending the market this year, I think you'll see from my packet of information that we saw maybe 50% as many shoppers last summer because of COVID, and we're anticipating that the same situation will happen this year. So we did see a reduction in not only people but cars last summer. So we're trying to buy ourselves a little time by being as careful as we can in the meantime.
At last year's meeting, at the time Mayor Bova asked you to look at other locations such as Torrey Park. Have you looked at that?
The conversation is ongoing. We were at one point hopeful that that the Rotunda and First Beach would be a possibility, which is off limits. We have looked at the possibility of Pell on Wednesdays, which doesn't work because of the school bus traffic in and out. We've considered Mayantonomi Market, which is also the exchange of one, there's simply not enough parking around there, and the space is limited because of trees. So we are open to any suggestions that people might have, but as a group, we haven't come up with an immediate solution yet.
Okay. You know, I think I just want to make it clear that I've had a track record of supporting the farmers market in the other locations, but again, I just cannot support it in this location. So I'm sorry, but you know, if you can find another location, I would be happy to. Be happy to approve. Thank you.
Councilor Bova, and then Councilor Holder.
Thank you. You know, I wanted to say, you know, I wanted to note the safety efforts that you guys have made at Memorial, and you know, I hope that those are going to continue because I know that you've put in a lot of work. And I just also wanted to say, you know, I'm in support. I'm going to approve this. However, you know, I recognize Councilor Segley's concerns, and I want to say, you know, if there's anything that we can do on the city side to be helping you find that location, please like let us help you, because you know, I think that there is, you know, we have parks and like, you know, a lot of spaces in the city that we could maybe find. And so I'm sure that we'd be able to help and find another solution. So please let us help you if there is something else that you see as kind of a question mark that you could maybe not make work unless we helped out. Just let us know. You know, it's hard for us to answer questions that haven't been asked yet.
Okay, Councilor Holder.
Yeah, is there a record of the number of accidents or incidents that have happened during the time the market is open at this location?
I don't know if that's a question for me or not. We track such things. Sorry, I don't know who should answer that question.
I believe the manager would like to speak.
Yeah, since this issue comes up every year,
Manager Joe Nicholson.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Joe Nicholson, city manager, and Gary Silva's on the line as well. He could chime in, but I asked him this morning, Councilor Holder, and we haven't run into any incidences relative to accidents up there. So no record.
Except that people have been hit and died in that location without the farmers market there.
That is correct.
You know, I do recognize that, you know, it's been a problem for a few years. I am encouraged that you are seeking other places. I just think you're the victims of your own success. The traffic, granted, last year, I think everybody had a reprieve traffic-wise, but I think there has to be a better location that's more accessible to more people. I am concerned about the location. Mr. Holder, do you have another question?
Well, just a statement, really. I think that maybe part of the reason there hasn't been any accidents or incidences at the time of the market is because it is a buffer for traffic, actually, at least from my perspective. I live right around the corner, so I know they do a good job of, you know, they have police detail out there. They have, you know, it's well marked. It's in the middle of the day from, what was it, 2 to 6. So it's not like, you know, much speeding going on, and with the cars, it's very visible, so.
Okay, thank you.
It's not a perfect situation. I understand that.
Thank you. Councilor Bova?
Thank you. I just want to add that I just thought about the fact that RIPTA is looking at adding the bus to the beach this summer, and I don't know if it's something that would be going down Memorial Ave, but up from that high up, but it is something that could also help to decrease some car usage in that area if it does run on Wednesdays, because people could look at taking the bus rather than driving there. And maybe that's something that a Gwinnett Community Table could, try and publicize as well.
Counselor Counselor Segley. Sorry. You're unmute yourself.
I'm a little confused. Has a Gwinnett Community Table actually hired a police officer to be in that area during the time of the farmers market?
We have not, because our understanding is that we will reserve that detail closer to the time that we would need them to be there. I think that we had an officer on site for, I'm not sure if it was 6 or 8 weeks of the height of the summer season last year. And we are willing and able to do that again this year.
Okay, are there any other questions from the council? Hearing none. Let's see. There's one from the audience. Bonnie Watson, please.
Oh, Madam Chair, I'm so sorry to do this, but I have to comment. I live in the K. Catherine neighborhood, and there are a lot of us who really enjoy walking to the farmers market. I think my ward councilor, Charlie Holder, just raised the definitive question. The 2 accidents that have occurred, one in front of the Tennis Hall of Fame in a crosswalk, and the other on Memorial, were people that were in crosswalks and were hit by inattentive drivers. So far as I know, the city has never prosecuted the perpetuators of those crimes, including the people that died. So I'm just astonished, because I go to the farmers market every week, and the Newport Restaurant Group has excellent protocols in place, but the farmers market exceeds all expectations. And I just wonder what's really behind the objection to a public market for fresh produce in the middle of a pandemic, when everyone in my ward that I talk to wants to be able to go there.
Safety, Bonnie, is the reason. Okay, so that's all I have to say.
Okay. Are we ready to vote? All in favor? Please raise your right hand. Any opposed?
The motion passes 6-1. Councillor Segley is opposed.
Thank you.
Appointments to boards and commissions.
There are no appointments to the boards and commissions at this time. However, we still have vacancies, and let's see.
Oh, there are.
I'm sorry. Newport Prevention Coalition, I move to appoint Elizabeth Ferrette. Do I have a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you. And I move to appoint William Surth to the Henderson Home Commission. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion. Yes.
Madam Chair, I just had a question.
Sure.
I've heard from both the Bicycle Pedestrian Commission and the EDC that they've had applicants who submitted their applications, but they haven't been able to, they either have been stuck or lost, and they haven't been able to make their way to you. And I was wondering if we could just ask Sam to kind of do a check through over the last few months to see if there's been any applications that have been lost, so that we can make headway on that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And if you have the names, please give them to Sam so that, you know, in case they're in a different folder or if she's unaware. But I have asked her to give all the applicants, send them directly to council members. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened, but apparently they submitted their applications months ago, and
When? Before?
they said it was during the winter, so it could have been any time. So I just wanted to bring it up so that we could talk.
Sure.
To kind of get the ball rolling, because I know she probably gets a ton of applications. And I also know
they're very good about getting them out. So,
well, I also know with the Dropbox, I don't know if something happened with that either.
We'll check
Madam Chair, can I just jump in for a second?
Yeah,
Would it be appropriate for these applicants to submit another application? Maybe via an email?
Certainly.
To cover all
I
bases?
know of applicants that haven't, for whatever reasons, been listed, certainly.
I'll reach back to those two commissions.
Okay.
I don't know all of the applicants. I've just been told by the commissions themselves.
Oh, okay, fine. Thank you. Okay, did we vote on Mr. Surth?
Yeah.
Not yet. Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Madam Clerk?
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
A resolution opposing the proposed increase in the real estate transfer tax.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilor Leonard.
Okay. I would like to, I want to make an amendment to this, but before I do, I would like to explain why I put this resolution in. I put it in because I followed the Providence Journal, the news, and so forth. And one of the proposals in Governor McKee's $11.2 billion spending plan and his budget is to double the rate of the current transfer tax from $2.30 for every $500 spent to $4.60 for every $500 that somebody spends on a home over $700,000. I just want to say, I don't have plans to sell my house. I don't have plans to make any money on this, but I care about the people who live here. And the reason I brought it up is that I believe that the amount of money, should it pass, would not really benefit Newport. And as other taxes, a lot of money is raised in Newport, yet the money goes to other communities in the state. So I put this in because there are a lot of people who live here, and some are military, some are people who retire and go elsewhere, and the biggest and sometimes only asset they have is their homes. So if it benefited the city, I think it would warrant more discussion, but I want to amend it, and that's the reason I put it in, because I think that it's important that the city monitors some of these bills or budget items that go in for the effect that it has on our community versus the benefits. So I'm going to ask that the resolve be amended before we move forward to vote on it. And I would like it to read, resolved that the city of Newport contact the League of Cities and Towns to review the legislation to double the transfer tax and the impact upon individual cities and towns. And basically I put it in, first of all, I'm gonna vote, I'm gonna ask the approval for the amendment.
I second
that. And the reason I did it, thank you, is because I think that it's important that we all have an awareness of bills that are going, there may go, because we don't know this is going to go yet either, but bills that are up for hearings that affect our community. There was one bill that passed last week, and I talked to the chair of the House in Providence, and he said, too late, nobody from Newport testified. So I think that we should be aware of what's being voted on in the state and the impact that it would have on our community. And that's the reason that I put this in, because the League of Cities and Towns works with all communities. And I think they're the best ones to actually find out more information, to gather that information, to share with us. And then if it does seem like it's going to proceed, then we would come back and actually decide if we would vote on it or not vote on it. But at least it gives us a chance to find out how this would impact Newport.
Yes, Councilor Bova?
Thank you. Just a quick point of order is we haven't actually had a motion to approve the resolution itself, which we need before
Right.
we can consider an amendment.
I make a motion to approve as amended.
Second for the discussion.
And then my second is the resolution as written before the amendment, in my opinion, I think is a conflict of interest for Councilor Leonard because she works in the real estate business. And it's something that I would like to ask Councilor Leonard if she would be, if she could get a hearing or an opinion from the Ethics Commission on, especially going forward, if it does go to the League of Cities and Towns. I just think that it's best to make sure that there's not even the appearance of a conflict by having that opinion from the Ethics Commission.
Actually, Councilor, why didn't you call earlier? Why didn't you speak directly with Councilor Leonard?
Because I had already spoken to two counselors about it and I recognize the rules of the Open Meetings Act.
Well,
You still could call. What do you mean the rule? I don't understand. Why didn't you ask her directly?
Because I had already spoken to two counselors about it. And I know that you and I have differing opinions on how we interpret the Open Meetings Act, but my interpretation, which I've spoken with the Attorney General's office on, is that you're not supposed to talk to more than two other counselors about items on the docket because that is considered a rolling
But
quorum.
it's not an item on the docket.
How is this resolution not an item on the docket?
The resolution is, but what you're requesting, what you're stating, why couldn't you ask or at least talk to Councilor Leonard and ask her before she submitted or even after she submitted? Call her this week.
As I just stated, that is why I did
At
not.
a public meeting, yes. Councilor Segley? Councilor Segley, please.
Yes, it seems to me that the one person to speak to about this and not break any open meeting law is Councilor Leonard. Thank you.
Councilor Holder?
Is it time to ask a question about this resolution, or do we have to wait until it's seconded and approved?
It has been seconded and approved.
So I can ask a question about it?
Sure.
This might be for Joe. Joe, do we know if this tax gets doubled, is the money coming back to Newport getting doubled, or we're still going to get the same rate that we did at 230?
No, we do know. 100% of the increase goes to the state. That's what the proposal is for. As it stands today, the split on the 230 for $500 is about a 49-51 split. So we get $700,000. Let's just use rough numbers. State gets 800. But under this proposal, where they double the transfer tax, an additional $1.5 million approximately will go to the state. So it's no longer an even split. You know, the 51-49 is out the window.
Okay.
If you recall, this was in many respects, this was proposed by Governor Gina Raimondo as well. However, it was also proposed by us, by the city of Newport, in a different form a couple of years ago. So in many respects, this was our idea. They've just borrowed it, so they're raising money on their side of the fence, if you will. I can take this resolution if it passes, and I'm on the executive board of the Rhode Island League of Cities and Towns, and I'll run it by the executive board if it passes, and ask them whether they will take a look at the impact to cities and towns. Whether they will do that or not in terms of the board, I don't know, but I'll do that, and I can do it as soon as tomorrow morning if this passes.
Because it seems to me, with, going up to the $700,000 range, that they're really kind of pinpointing certain cities or towns in Rhode Island that have those properties at that value. Newport, obviously, being one of them, and I hate seeing us Newport, being used as a piggy bank for the state. So that's the only thing that really concerns me about this.
Yeah, I will tell you, we had $340 million in sales last year, of sales over $700,000. And yeah, it'll be an additional $1.5 million to the state if you use that as the base number, on top of the first $1.5 million that's split, 51-49.
Yeah, because I'd like to see the money from the Newport property sales come back to Newport. So we, when we're talking about building affordable housing, we're getting affordable housing here in Newport and not subsidizing other towns and cities in the state.
Councillor Leonard?
Yeah, I would like to respond to Councillor Bova. First of all, I did call up the Ethics Commission. And number two, you can't get a definitive answer unless you actually make an application that takes months to go through, where the committee actually votes. And I'm going to just, for the record, so you hear me, this has no financial benefit to Kate Leonard. The reason I put this on the docket was for informational purposes, so that people who live in Newport will know that a tax may be passed that could affect them. That's my purpose for doing that. To say that I have an possible ethics violation, I can tell you I have no financial impact, and I don't plan on selling my house where I would benefit from it. So I want that there for the record. And it would have been nice if you indeed had called me and said, gee, can you explain to me why you put it there?
Thank you. Councillor McCalla?
I'm sorry, but Councilor Bova brings up a really good point that it's a pink elephant in the room. I think that we could benefit from more clarification. I think the other piece is, in terms of information in regards to the transfer tax, I had actually called both Representative Marvin Abney as well as Representative Lauren Carson. And both had stated that this isn't even on their purview just yet. Like, they haven't had the due diligence to be able to study this. So we don't have enough of the information to know what's actually being proposed and what's going on. And quite frankly, I second the fact that it is uncomfortable, Councillor Leonard. I do agree. I'm sorry. I agree. I think that's okay. Like, in terms, I'm glad that you did your due diligence to already contact the Board of Commissions. But I think until a final decision is rendered, I'm not comfortable with voting for this.
Councillor Leonard.
I just want to reiterate that I brought this up as transparency, so that this bill and any other bill that may happen, and like I said, I don't know if this is going to go forward. I don't know if it'll even go to a hearing. But for transparency's sake, for the people who live in Newport, I think that everybody who lives here should do deserve to know what bills may come up to the State House that impact them.
I would just like to say that this is part of the governor's budget. There is not an actual bill that has been developed yet. I think it's important that the league take a look at it, because I have concerns, particularly if they're doubling that amount and nothing comes back to the city of Newport. That is exactly what was discussed a couple years ago, increasing that transfer tax. It just really demands some very good investigative skills to take a look to see what the impact to Newport would be. So I do appreciate that it was brought up. I made the phone calls too and got the same response from different legislators who were not aware of how, this would affect Newport. So I do think that it probably is headed in the right direction. At least we'll have some definitive answers. Councilor Forte? Unmute your mic.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, so I need clarity of what exactly are we voting for? And I've heard multiple times that it hasn't been passed, it's going to be looked at, we don't have definitive. So what exactly are we voting on for this resolution to pass?
I think Councilor Leonard stated that she wants a review by the League of Cities and Towns. And I think that's appropriate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Manager Nicholson, please.
Just so we're clear, this is on page 403 of a 405-page budget document. It's a budget article. It has not come up for hearing. They hold these hearings on the budget articles on a revolving basis, if you will, like a treadmill. And so I just wanted to be aware it is part, as you indicated, Mayor DiPaolo, it is part of the governor's budget. Its impact on Newport is how Councilor Holder characterized it. It's not the traditional way this money has been handled. And I just want to emphasize that again, because we proposed a different form of it a few years ago, as you're all aware and supported, and it's going in the other direction. A great idea, but it's to the advantage of, not to the complete advantage of Newport. And I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Councilor Leonard?
Yeah. Well, Joe hit upon some of it. I just think that it doesn't behoove Newport, and this is my personal opinion, to continuously try to raise revenues without the public being aware of what is being proposed. And we do that in open meetings. We put it on docket items. And I, again, think it's important to know how it impacts people in our community. That's all.
Thank you. Councilor Bova?
Thank you. I just want to make it clear that I don't think that getting an opinion or talking with the Ethics Commission is a bad thing. And I don't think that asking someone to talk to the Ethics Commission is a bad thing. In my industry, we work and discuss ethics all the time because I work for the federal government, and we have to be very aware and very careful of how we spend taxpayers' money. I was not insulting or insinuating anything. I was merely saying that I think it is something that would behoove the council and Councilor Leonard and the public, because I think abstaining from even the appearance of a conflict is what is best to do. And as for this resolution itself, I personally am still confused as to what we are discussing. There's been a motion and a second on the resolution as on the docket.
As amended.
Just let me ask the question. There's been a motion and a second on the resolution on the docket, and there's been a motion and a second on the amendment, but we have not voted on the amendment. So what I would like to know is, could the proposed amendment from Councilor Leonard please be restated in its entirety so that everyone can understand what we're actually about to vote on?
Yes, thank you.
I will read it to you again. Before I read it to you, I just want this clear too. As a realtor, we are responsible in the state of Rhode Island to take numerous ethics courses, which I have taken always, and I take it very seriously. I'm going to state it again publicly. There is nothing in this for me personally. It's called transparency for the public. And now I'm going to read the resolve that I think most people in town would be happy to know. Resolved that the city of Newport contact the League of Cities and Towns to review the legislation to double the transfer tax and the impact upon individual cities and towns. That's it.
Do you have any other questions, Councilor Bova? Okay, anybody else? I would just like to say that it does have an impact on Newport, and I'd like to be clear on it. This is a tax we already have a transfer tax, which we get approximately 50% of back to the city of Newport. What the state budget is proposing is that they double that tax and to, what is it, $8.40?
$4.60 per 500.
Okay, $4.60. They would get the total amount of the increase. There'd be nothing that would come back to individual cities and towns. And somehow that doesn't seem fair. It's a unique proposal, and I believe to some extent, it's almost a power grab by the state. So I would really like the league to take a look at this. Okay, are we ready to vote on the amendment?
Madam Chair, I think that there is the public that would like to speak.
Okay, Ms. Watson again.
Yeah, sorry, Madam Chair, I just wanted to mention there's also a significant amount of money coming into Providence under the Recovery Act that the president signed. And that might be something else for Newport to keep an eye on.
Absolutely.
As
We
to
have-
Counselor, sorry, yeah.
It's Joe Nicholson, city manager. We have that under control. I'll provide the information to the council. There's money, significant money coming into every municipality in the United States, not only as direct aid, but as county aid as well. It gets distributed to the cities and towns. I just don't want you to get off topic here.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. I know you're on top of it. The second thing is to respond to Counselor Leonard's concern with the ethics requirements. I think she should go look at the ruling that was issued by the Ethics Commission to former Mayor Sardella, in which he was found not to be in breach of the ethics rules, but it's a very clear statement.
Excuse me, Ms. Watson, but the names and what you're talking about is not related to this issue. I'd rather, if you have a question, that's fine.
So that ruling, and I can provide that to the council tomorrow, I just don't have it in front of it. That ruling extended the rules to employers of the counselor voting, any friends or family. So it's not just a personal interest.
Right.
You know, it's a business that you work in that, you know, it's important, of course, to notify the public, but our newspapers are doing a good job of that lately. So the second thing I want to say is, in my experience, no military family can afford a house over $700,000. In fact, most working people in Newport can't. So, you know, it's something to take into consideration. Thank you.
Okay. There doesn't appear to be any other call-ins. Are there any other questions by the council? Okay, vote on the resolution as amended. Excuse me.
The original resolution?
The original
amendment
resolution
first.
Yeah, that's what I thought. As amended, to vote on the resolution. All in favor of the amendment, please raise your right hand. Madam Clerk?
The motion to amend the resolution passes unanimously.
Okay. A vote on the resolution as amended. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay. Madam Clerk?
I didn't see Counselor McCalla vote.
Counselor, did you not vote?
Sorry, I'm voting for.
Okay.
So the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Then the resolution has passed. Thank you.
Resolution requesting the City Council, Planning Department, and Planning Board work together to develop fairness of outcomes or equity into the comprehensive land use plan.
Yes. First of all, I'm going to read the 3 resolves that I wrote for this, and then I just want to certainly open it up for discussion, but I have a couple of things I want to say. So the first resolve says the City Council, Planning Department, and Planning Board work together to develop precise language on fairness of outcomes or equity into the comprehensive land use plan using the American Planning Association guidelines that address issues such as education, gentrification, the environment, health, transportation, public space, and community connectivity. And be it further resolved that the City Council and Planning Board support training to learn how to ensure equity is implemented along with strategies for codifying policies. And be it further resolved that the City Council and City Administration approach the enactment of public policies through a lens of fairness for all Newport residents. I move approval.
Second. Discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I had a really hard time with the resolution that was presented at the last meeting, and something that really stuck in my mind about it when I voted against it, which is basically I voted against it because I don't believe that we should be hiring a consultant, even though it said investigate a hiring consultant. I think that was a slippery slope. But Counselor McCalla made a very good point when she said that by voting the last resolution down, we were stopping the conversation on equity. And I took that to heart, and I realized that she was right. So I decided to put this resolution on the docket to continue the conversation and to have the community come together to work on the document. Now, one of the reasons why I feel that we don't need a consultant and we can work together is I believe that, first of all, we are in the middle of a hiring freeze. We do not have the employees at City Hall to actually provide services to our residents, and yet we'd be hiring a consultant. I don't really think that's fair. There's also uncertainty about the budget and the new house evaluations. There was nothing, as the planning board said, that was overtly racist, that it was actually a good plan, but that there were some things that needed to be addressed. And I think the city, including the people at City Hall, including the planning board, the council, and organizations within the community can come together, perhaps with an ad hoc committee, to look at this. Now, we need to do another comp plan in 5 years. And at that point, we're going to have to hire a consultant. So we have basically 3 years to go. I don't see why we can't fill in some of the gaps that have been talked about. And we certainly have people in this community who have the experience to do that. I was hoping that this would be a unifying experience. So I move approval.
Second. Councilor Forte? Councilor Forte?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I would like to thank Councilor Bova for bringing up the first resolution 2 weeks ago that started the conversation about equity and inclusion. And now I thank Councilor Segli and Mayor Napolitano for keeping the conversation going tonight. This resolution is about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I want to remind everyone that a subcommittee of 4 citizens of Newport that are volunteers on the planning board with the assistance of our planning department staff were the ones that made these recommendations, right? So it is this subcommittee of planning board members that worked diligently on how to ease the pain on what's happening then and continues to happen now around the country. These 4 citizens of Newport that are volunteers on the planning board felt the pain of our Black citizens and were moved by the injustices happening then. That they felt it was important to find a way to assure our Black citizens of Newport that are safe and send a message that we truly are one Newport, regardless of where you live in the city, where you work, your beliefs, the color of your skin, sexual orientation, language. This subcommittee found it extremely important to commit in adding the missing language of inclusion to our comp plan. For now and for years to come, I worked with the planning board subcommittee on this, and I am committed to working on this with my fellow councilors because this is the time to do it. Although this resolution does not reflect the title the subcommittee gave it, which was Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, I do want to propose the following amendments to give it sort of like the true vision in life those planning board members worked hard in getting this message before us. And upon passing their small amendments, I will give it my full support and vote. So Madam Chair, I make the following amendments to the resolution. So on the first whereas, line 6, changing the word most fair to equitable. And on page 2, I'm sorry, yes, on page 2, last whereas, that fairness is changed to equity. And the first resolve, line 1, after the planning board, like Councilor Segli just said, I think we need to add community members to come together. So that way we all learn what equity is about, sort of adding transparency. And also on the first resolve, line 2, removing again fairness of outcomes and adding equity, because equity is the goal here, is making sure all of our citizens have the tools to thrive in Newport.
Thank you, Councilor Forte. I appreciate that. And I agree with you. I did want to make clear, I did try to put the definition of equity in the resolution by saying that, and I took this from a planning document, the term equity is often defined as ensuring greater fairness of treatment and outcomes. Strategies for achieving equity are, so I just said that they're not well defined, but that is basically, it is defined as fairness of outcomes. So, and I think that that's something that we've been working toward. And certainly, I think we worked toward that with the comprehensive land use plan in 2017. And certainly there is equity language in the North End urban plan. My concern is that we need to look at the entire city. We need to look at the elderly. We need to look at seniors. We need to look at the disabled. We need to look at everyone. So, and, we are working on projects to create greater equity. And we have finished projects. For instance, we're working on the Rogers High School, the new Rogers High School, the Pell Bridge ramps, which will bring greater connectivity. We're working on the development of a master transportation plan and the Newport for All Ages effort in collaboration with AARP to improve livability for seniors. So, I think that is the goal. I appreciate your amendments and I support them wholeheartedly. So thank you very much.
Can I just
Thank
say,
you.
can I
Can I just respond, Madam?
just a minute. I just want to let you know, as far as the training goes, that is on a limited basis offered to planning and to the city council right now. This person that is offering us this training for gratis does it all over the United States. I do not want to, at this point, we're not in a position to offer the training to, everyone. There was something about your amendment to the resolution that addressed that, Councilor Forte?
Yes, it's adding the community.
Yeah, I just want you to know, we're limited on that training that I was talking about. I don't know if that can be, something separate or.
Okay,
but,
so going back to what Councilor Segley was saying, yes, definitely we are looking at the citywide, anything and everything that we do, that we look through it through the lens of equity, anything and everything. And I just want to reiterate that I was there working with the planning board. I was on that planning board discussions, and it was hard. And we ourselves could not come up with definitive language. And that's why the reference of we need help. So, and if we invite the community themselves have to learn along with us, hand in hand, what equity really means. So I think the community and also partners of nonprofits or whoever benefits from participating in these trainings. And I just suggest that we do get someone that can train us together with everyone, as we are all citizens of this city. I don't understand why is it for some and not for all. I just think the training should be open for transparency and for everyone to attend should they want to.
But that's not the way it has been structured. At this point.
It has been structured by who, Madam Chair?
Well, initially, I spoke to this gentleman who has also spoken to Angela McCalla. And, the way we could address it, it has a lot of, we were splitting the rooms on Zoom and doing the training. I mean, it's just a little bit complex, and we're still trying to work out the details. But it certainly is not something that it was going to be the city at large at this point. That doesn't mean one of the organizations in the city couldn't pick up, doing this as a, I don't know, public service or something. But the training that I was speaking of was definitely for the planning board and the city council.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
I just hope that we all, as even councilors, like I said, we're all citizens, and that we find ourselves attending these trainings, even if it's someone local, together with every citizen of Newport that wants to attend, so that way we all learn the same time. It just makes it difficult when some get trained by someone else and then there's another training. So I just hope that after we get these trainings, that we do offer a training for our community members and for the council and planning board as well.
Right now, the training is specifically for planning and the city council.
Understood. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councilor Leonard?
Yeah. I looked at this resolution and I think that this is my personal opinion, that the resolved should probably be in the order of importance. And I say this because federal law states that all classifications be treated fairly, that's the EEOC, and it is against the law to discriminate on basis of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or age. These are the classifications. So I think that if we take that into account, then probably the most important to me anyway, is that the city, as a first resolve, that the city council and city administration approach the enactment of policies through a lens of fairness and equity for all Newport residents. So taking that into account, I then say, are all these classifications going to be discussed in training, because that's how the law reads. So I didn't write this resolution up. So in terms of what's being offered, is it complete for all residents according to the law, or what are these training sessions, and what's the outcome that we want to see?
Well, can I just respond? I think the outcome that we want to see is specific strategies that we can put into city policy. Because many times what is spoken about is often nebulous, and I am looking for a way to create some concrete steps. Now, the American Planning Association document certainly does that, and there are many other documents that I have looked at online that do that as well. I mean, we have to look at this in that this document is a living document, and it's going to be the change is going to start in just 3 years anyway. So, I mean, I think that we can, add whatever the gaps are in it. I mean, I think it actually would be a very unifying experience to do this together rather than separately with a consultant. Thank you.
So my question goes back to, are all these classifications part of what you're talking about in this resolution? The ones covered by federal law? Or do you have something specific in mind?
No, of course, anything that would be in federal law would be what would be appropriate. I'm not going to go against federal law.
No, I didn't say you would. And my other question was, in terms of how we normally look at things, the city council normally directs the planning board or sends to the planning board for recommendations, which I think ended up with all the work that the subcommittee and the planning board did for about 1.5 years of solid work. So my feeling is that that's the norm we would do. So I looked at the resolution, and I think if we're going to go the way we started out, as the city of Newport would direct the planning board and the planning department to develop language of fairness and outcomes, and therefore come back to us with their further recommendations for us to consider. I'm not totally clear on what the second resolved is.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, Kate. Forgive me for interrupting. Crispy and City Solicitor. Councilor Forte made a motion to amend. I don't believe it was seconded.
You're right.
And there's been discussion all along on that amendment. So is there a councilor there who is going to second that amendment?
Second.
Councilor Forte, can you restate your amendment, please?
Wait a minute. I have to, hold on, because now I have it.
Laura, can you pull it up again on a screen share, please?
Yep, Tom Shevlin will take care of that.
Okay, so changing the word, so the resolve, everything stays the same except for several words, which is On the first whereas, line 6, changing most fair to the word equitable. And then page 2, last whereas, line 1, the wording fairness changed to equity. And then first resolved, line 1, after the planning board was to add the community members to work together, as Councillor Segley mentioned as well. And then first resolved, line 2, removing fairness of outcomes or to equity.
Second.
I have a problem with some of the last ones, not the fairness to equity. I'm not going to get into the semantics of wording, but adding community members for the training that, if it doesn't have anything to do with the training that I've already tried to work out, and I am still working it out, then fine. But I why don't we vote on them one by one? What do you?
Sure, I don't mind. Sure,
Okay.
sure.
Madam Chair, I've had my hand up for quite a while. When
Well,
we
I
come
have
to the
three
resolve,
excuse me a minute. I have 3 other people with their hands up too. Okay? So just a minute. Let's take one thing at a time.
so are we going to be allowed to have discussion on each of them?
Yes,
need be?
yes, absolutely, absolutely. Okay?
Sure. So let's look at my first amendment. On the first whereas, line 6, changing most fair to the word equitable.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Discussion? Yes, Councilor Leonard?
No, I was just going to second.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. Is there anybody that has a problem with that change? Why don't we take a vote on it? In the first whereas, changing from most fair, eliminating and putting in the word equitable outcome for all Newport residents. Every counselor in favor of that, please raise your right hand. Madam Clerk, can you see everybody?
Yes, I can, and that was unanimous, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Second amendment change on page 2, last whereas, line 1, fairness be changed to equity.
Fairness of outcomes, okay, to equity.
Second.
All right, all in favor of that change, please raise your right hand.
That was also unanimous, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Third amendment is the first resolved, line 1, where it says after planning board, and I know, Madam Chair, this is the part where you are saying about the training.
Yes.
So I am okay with leaving that one as is for now.
Okay, so eliminating and members of the community?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Wait a minute. Okay, so it reads that the city council, planning department, and planning board work together to develop precise language on equity in the comprehensive land use using the American Planning Association guidelines. Yes. Is there?
Yes.
No, I'm sorry. The second resolve is the one that you had a question about the community. where it says, City Council and Planning Board support
Oh,
training
yeah, okay.
to learn how to ensure equity is implemented. I'm okay with leaving it.
You cut out.
Wait,
I
wait,
can't hear.
excuse me, wait a minute.
Wait a minute, excuse me, wait a minute. Let's get some control here. You know, it's unfortunate that perhaps we should have communicated earlier what potential changes could be, because this is a number of them.
Right.
I
understand.
Okay, well.
Third Amendment, I'm okay with leaving it as is.
Can you read that again?
Which is.
Because I can't see it. Above the screen is something else.
Understand, I have yet to speak, and everybody else on here has spoken except for me and Counselor Holder.
No, and Counselor Bova has her hand raised, and there's a number of people that have.
The amendment.
This is on the amendments.
Yes.
Okay.
You just told me too,
All
that
right.
each resolve, we were gonna be able to say something.
Counselor McCalla, say your piece right now.
Okay, in terms of equity, just to let you know, Mayor, like you literally spoke like 4 times for every single stuff, and yet everybody else is sitting here waiting, okay? So is that really equitable? Not really, okay? Second, I just want to say, let me just calm down for a second. The other piece that I want to say is the, according to the to Councilor Fuerte's point about the community, the American Planning Association recognizes the role that city planning, you know, it has in terms of shaping the community. And what it states too is that it is important for city planners, the planning board, and other civic-minded members to understand, and again, I'm gonna highlight civic-minded members, okay? That doesn't only it's not exclusive to just 2 entities of government, or maybe 3 in this sense. The reality is this is a community issue, and that we are like literally, I think that this should be a process. And I thank you for resurrecting this and continuing the conversation. And I'm going to ask you again, just walk with me a little further on this. In terms of, you know, Councilor Fuerte's ask about putting it in for the proposed amendment, this is a community issue, and one that, for purposes of transparency, I agree that this should be kept, and that I agree with Councilor Fuerte's language. And can we please consider just saying yes, like what's the harm?
You know, first of all, we're a representative democracy. We have been elected by people all across the city to represent them. We're trying to get through this. There are certainly things that we can't even seem to approve a resolution of late, because nobody really talks to anybody. And it's been that way for a while. I have called people, every single one of you, in regard to different items. This is something that we should decide tonight how this can be worded. I see some counselors willing to work together and other counselors just being either, the only way I can describe it is obstinate. If you have a question about the way something was worded, the right thing to do is call the sponsor and let the person know that, or make a suggestion. At least have a conversation. That's what you're always talking about, a conversation. This council does not have conversations. And that's unfortunate. That is unfortunate.
And I agree with you that I think that between the two resolutions, 2 weeks ago, the majority of the council members weren't comfortable with some of the language. And again, this week, there's others who are expressing more uncomfortability in that regard. And I agree that I just think that we need to have a foundational training before we start figuring out how we're going to solve diversity, inclusion, and equity. And the reality of this, and I agree with you, Councilor Napolitano, it is clear that we all have different ideas about what this means, and we have to come to some consensus. And part of that is that we need to do this together. And part of that is going through the basic trainings, allowing the public to be able to be educated too, because this is not, this issue doesn't just extend to just us alone. This is a community issue.
I would agree with you, Counselor, but I think it's important that council and planning board be trained first. And that was what was agreed upon with the person that offered his services. And I thought that was a step in the right direction, but I can't get somebody up there and to characterize the resolution that came before us 2 weeks ago, when it requested, or not requested, it asked to investigate a consultant. We are in no position financially right now to hire anybody. So that was the only bone of contention, but nobody was willing to give. Somebody has to give. Somebody has to give. I think we want the same things, but people have to give.
And my other concern is that not adding the language of community being there, as well as a consultant, that this resolution alludes to the fact that we're going to do this by ourselves with no outside help.
No, that's what the trainer is for. That's what the person that offered his services is for gratis. And he does this all over the United States, a unique opportunity, at least for us. That doesn't mean that that has to stop with us. What's your pleasure? Yes, Councilor Bova.
I mean, I have a lot that I could say about the resolution as a whole, just because I know that there's a lot to it. And I want to say thank you to Councilor Segley for bringing this back before us and really taking to heart the need to continue the conversation. Her and I had a conversation about the resolution that was on the docket 2 weeks ago, and we had a conversation about this resolution. And I'm glad that we're able to consider it again. I think that we do. I also want to, say thank you to Councilor Fuerte for her amendments. I think that everything that we've gone through that she's suggested thus far, I think only serve to add to the resolution. And I think it would be good if we could keep going through those. I recognize, there's probably more that we need to talk about, but at this point, I'd kind of yield the floor to letting us get back on track on the amendments proposed by Councilor Forte.
Councilor Leonard?
Well, I just want to, we're not going in, if we go in order, I would like to ask questions about the first resolved.
Go ahead.
And my question is the logistics of it. It says resolve, the City Council, Planning Department, and Planning Board work together to develop precise language on fairness of outcomes or equity into the comprehensive land use plan using the American Planning Association guidelines that address issues such as education, gentrification, and so forth. My question is about the first sentence. How would that work? How are we, city council does not meet with the planning department and the planning board to go over precise language. And that's why I had suggested that we follow the norms that we've usually done, which is that the language would go back to the planning board to be fine-tuned, let's say, and then come back to the council for a vote on their recommendations.
Councilor Segley.
Yes, I think that that is a mistake, doing it that way, because I see this as an ad hoc commission, possibly, where we can have 2 counselors, 2 planning board members, the planning staff, and perhaps some of the people from the community could be invited in to look at what they're doing. I mean, we had an ad hoc committee when we did the Broadway street project. We met every Thursday at 2:00, and people were invited and to give their opinions about things. I think that that's the way to bring the community together.
Is that what you're saying here? That your resolve should say that an ad hoc committee would be formed?
Well, I mean, I could certainly do that.
I mean, if that's what you mean, I think that's what we should do, because the way it's now, you're talking about city council, planning, and planning board working and like meeting together. We don't do that.
Mm-hmm. But we can. I mean, there's nothing.
You want 30 people or city council 7, planning department 7, 3 or 4, planning board 7, and all those people to meet together to try to come up with language. I think that it would be chaos.
Well, I'm not suggesting the entire council, the entire planning board. I think that what would be most effective would be for perhaps 2 or 3 counselors and 2 or 3 planning.
Which I could agree with. And if you want to state it, that an ad hoc committee could be formed, I'd be fine with that.
Now, we have not voted on the amendment that's on the floor. So can we vote on that one?
And that's the one that Elizabeth Fuerte was talking about, going down that list. Which one are you talking about?
Madam Chair, I don't think that there was a second on that last motion to amend.
Second, I have seconded Councilor Fuerte's amendment.
Was that the one to include the community?
Her amendment on the second resolved, or excuse me, the first resolved, that is on the screen right now, is what I am seconding.
Where you're adding members of the community? Is that what you're talking about?
I would like to add members of the community. Yes, I would. I think that that's the fair way to go.
But are you talking as an ad hoc committee, or are you talking about going for this training where the man isn't volunteering to do all these people?
These are 2 totally separate things. We'd have an ad hoc committee to go through the comprehensive land use plan and to work together to bring the language of equity into it. Perhaps it's adding a chapter, perhaps it's including it into the document as it is. But I think that we can, work together to do this. And there are plenty of documents that give guidelines as to how to do this. So, and I think that it's fair to bring people in who, perhaps some people from the HES, or perhaps some people who are historians, and some we can bring people in who are where we see the gaps.
So are you saying, I don't want to miss something. So are you saying, I'll ask again, to create an ad hoc committee of people from the council, the planning board, and the community to create an ad hoc committee? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I make that motion.
So I'll second that.
Madam
and
Chair.
we have to say how many members, I think.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilor Bova.
Thank you. We haven't voted on Councilor Fuerte's original amendment.
Right.
And I would also like to, just comment on her proposed amendment, to say that, I think that what Councilor Fuerte said and what Councilor Segley is saying about the council, the planning department, the planning board, members of the community needing to come together and work on this together is extremely accurate. And I think that we can have that meeting and excuse me, multiple of those meetings in a workshop type scenario. And in those meetings, we can drill down and determine how we want to move forward via whether it's ad hoc or in some sort of working group. I think when we have multiple members of the community as well as the full council and planning board together, that conversation can be had. As I think Councilor Segley made a great point that obviously, we want to make sure that the work can be done. But I would not be willing right now to say that we need to have an ad hoc committee and do it like that. I think that where we are now is we have this resolution in front of us. We have a pretty simple, straightforward amendment proposed by Councilor Fuerte that I think, again, just enhances the resolution. And I think that we should be moving forward on the resolution, on the amendments, and making the decision that we as a council are supportive of the work that needs to be done to develop language on equity, diversity, and inclusion, and develop that language and get it into the comprehensive land use plan. I think that between 2 weeks ago's conversation and the conversation tonight, I would feel safe in saying that the majority of the council wants to develop language that can be added to the comprehensive land use plan. I think that we know that we need the council, the planning board, and the planning department and the community to work together on that. And I think that we are letting ourselves be derailed by trying to get into the nitty-gritty and the individual specifics of what every meeting is going to look like, when right now what we are trying to do is come to an agreement on a broad process of how we can start sitting down and having these conversations. And I really don't think that we should be letting ourselves get derailed by trying to nitpick this resolution when the amendments proposed by Councilor Fuerte, I think, are excellent and give us everything that we need to move forward. And, I don't understand why we are talking about if it should be ad hoc or not.
I do.
Where we are right now is, do we agree, yes or no, that these three government bodies should work with the community, sit down and start the process? That's how I view this, and that's what I think we should vote on and discuss.
I personally think that the city administration should work with the council, planning board, and members of the community to develop precise language on equity I think that would, whether they're ad hoc or whatever. I mean, it just, at this point, we're wordsmithing everything. Councilor Holder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilor Bova, when you said the three parts of government, you're talking about the city council, planning department, and planning board?
Yeah, I meant, what's listed in the resolved.
Yeah, I just want to double check, because I'm not 100% comfortable with just adding members of the community. I think that's a very vague statement. Because that leaves it up to every single citizen in Newport, as far as I'm concerned. So,
Me too.
I do approve of all the other amendments that Councilor Fuerte has put up, with the exception of the community.
Madam Chair, may I just respond?
Yes, Councilor Bova.
Thank you. I think that regardless of, if we bring in specific organizations or not, which I do think that we should, it's always going to involve members of the community, because that type of work, needs to be done in public workshops with public input and public discussion. So, I think the broadness of the language for members of the community is actually a good thing, because it allows us to both engage with individual organizations, but also ensure that the work that we do is done in public workshops with ample public engagement and public participation.
Councilor Forte?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to validate all this discussion everyone is having back and forth. We had at the planning board, and that's why this has been brought to the council. We ourselves could not come up with language because it's difficult. I, as a Latina, as part of the minority group, I could not come up with language that would ensure everyone was included. Therefore, we need help. However that help can get to us, we just have to acknowledge that we need it and open the door for that help to walk through. So I would like to finish my last amendment and get this to vote. And then I don't know, whatever's next is next. And thank you for the conversation. But this was the same conversation we had at the planning board.
Madam Chair, there is a couple of people in the public that have their hands raised.
Council first.
You know, the council goes first.
Mhm.
All right. Councilor Leonard.
I agree with Councilor Holder. I think the resolved, and I lost track of because of my screen, but the one about members of the community in the one resolved and members of the community in the other resolved, I think that's vague. We're talking here where, if I think of what Councilor Bova's saying, that we open up and we could have 50 people in a room. And I don't know, I mean, I looked at how the planning board worked so hard for a year and a half. And once you open it up to large groups, I don't see how it's gonna flow smoothly. I think we all agree that the goal is for equity in our community. I think we can all say that. But this, to me, I can't support where it's members of the community without, it's just too vague. I mean, how many members? I could support an ad hoc committee working as part or with the planning board and the council. I just personally can't leave it open to something so vague.
Can I respond?
Sure.
So anyone that would come to an open invitation to come and talk about equity will come with the passion and will be the person that wants to be included, to make sure we do not leave anyone out. This is about inclusion, differential abilities, whatever their beliefs are, anything. 99%, if we do not get it correct, we're going to lose someone or leave someone out. I'm just saying, when we say invite the community, is those that are passionate about this. All they're gonna come is help us. There's nothing wrong with us working with the community to develop this book. Maybe that's what lacked the language, was because the community was not involved in the process. Certain amount of people were, but not widely. So I'm just saying, we need to get this right. We need to get it done. And there's nothing wrong with inviting the community. It's not like everyone would come in, but those that are passionate are more than welcome to come in and be part of the conversation, just like we're having today.
At this time, I'd like to recognize our solicitor, Chris Ban.
Okay, we're going back and forth on the language in this first resolved, and I just wanted to remind the council members, and I'm not trying to sway either side here, is that these resolutions are a statement of your policy. There's flexibility in them. So the language, city council, planning department, and planning board, and members of the community, that is something how you will end up implementing that is something that could include different ways to do it, such as an ad hoc committee. You do not have to have precise language now that says it has to be an ad hoc committee or it has to be another certain way. So this is a policy, and of course, council members are free to vote it up or down or change it, but I just want to point out, these are just policy declarations, and they will be implemented by probably with the assistance and help of the staff in a way that to try to get the policy that it is putting forth into play. So I would not get too caught up, as the mayor suggested, on wordsmithing.
Can we just call a question?
Councillor Segley, did you have a question?
Could we just call the question? I mean, could we just vote on Councilor Fuerte's amendment?
Yes.
Yes. Councillor Leonard.
I would really like to support all of this. I just have a problem with how it would happen. And I know what Crispian just said, but if we don't resolve it now, when are we going to resolve it? Well, somebody will say, well, I think that the whole council chamber should be open. And somebody else will say, no, I think it's an ad hoc committee. So I think the end goal would be to include the community, but I don't see how you get to the end goal if you have what could be many, full council chambers or Zoom meeting. I just don't know how you'd get to the end goal.
Can I interject here that if we change the language, if we just said the city administration will work with the council, the planning department, the planning board, and an ad hoc committee to work to develop precise language on equity, and that includes everything.
That's
We
good.
can talk about the ad hoc later. Do you have a problem with that, Councillor Forte?
I don't have, no, I don't object to that.
Okay. I'd like to move that we adopt the language of city administration will work with the city council, planning department, and planning board, and an ad hoc committee to develop precise language on equity in the comprehensive land use plan.
Second.
Discussion. Councillor Bova.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to ask for clarification from you. And I know that the city solicitor commented on this earlier, but ad hoc committee would include members of the community. Is that correct?
That's what I would think, yes.
And I think it's important, especially given the conversation that we've had tonight. I think it's important to make that clear. I preferred Councillor Fuerte's amendment before, especially given what.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. But I just made a change to the language, and I asked the councillor if it was acceptable, and she said yes. If you don't like it, then propose something else and we'll vote on it.
Well, I was in the middle of speaking and wanted to ask a further question. And I would appreciate that if I could finish that. So my question was about the logistics of this from the city solicitor, because I want to make sure that we're doing it correctly as well, because we've been all over the place in terms of motions and seconds and everything across this meeting. So is this, could you just give us a little bit of clarity on what we were discussing and whether or not any amendments or can you just help?
Can I just interject for a moment? I'm sorry. You know, I don't see why we can't vote on Councilor Fuerte's amendment now. And, you know, we can bring another resolution to the council that explicitly explains the ad hoc committee, which is what I did when I worked on the Broadway Street Fair project. And it said exactly who was going to be on that committee, who was going to be invited, and how the public would interact. So I don't see why we can't vote on what we have here, which I realize it's a little bit vague, but we can bring a clearer resolution to the council. I'm happy to do that and work with anyone who wants to work on that.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Seckley. I agree completely.
There's a motion and the second on the amendment that the mayor put in.
Okay. City administration will work with the council, with the planning department and planning board in an ad hoc committee to develop precise language on equity, and the rest of it's the same.
All right, call a vote.
All right, are we ready to vote? All in favor of that language, please raise your right hand. Any opposed?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, if I could just for the moment ask Tom Shevlin to stop sharing your screen so I can see the vote. Thank you very much. Okay, can you do that one more time, please?
All in favor of the proposed amended language, please raise your right hand. All opposed? Okay, the motion passed.
4-3.
Can we read the names of how it was?
Yes, I'm working on it.
Oh, thank you.
The motion passes 4-3 with Councilor Bova, Councilor McCalla, and Councilor Holder opposed. Okay.
Can I just make one little, my voting for that does not preclude the fact that we would not have another resolution. So I just, okay.
All right, and can we finalize, can Tom share the screen again with the final amendment?
So, okay, my last amendment is first resolve, line 2, again, removing fairness of outcomes or to equity. I believe that was the last one.
Mm-hmm. And then what about that next resolve that shows the city council, planning board, and members of the community attend supportive training?
Madam Chair, you have said that at least for this training, that couldn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I was okay with that, but I'm okay if someone words something that says future trainings. I think the community needs to.
Well, I suppose you could put in a separate resolution if you want to offer that to the community, okay?
Later on, you're saying?
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, then that will remove and members of the community attend supportive training.
That's not in the original motion.
No,
that's what I thought.
We never voted for that one. It's just the last one I just mentioned.
Okay, then can we eliminate that one for now, Counselor?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's just removing fairness, I believe, and
sure,
I forgot, but it's adding equity.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
What exactly, which one are we exactly voting on? We added the one on ad hoc. So which
Right.
one are we voting on now?
The one that's on the screen, the city council, planning department, planning board, and an ad hoc committee will work. In fact, what I had said, the city administration will work with the council. City administration will work with the council, planning department, and planning board in an ad hoc committee to develop language on equity into the comprehensive land use plan. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Here you go. Thank you. So you see what the language is. Does any discussion?
Madam Chair, there are some people in the audience who would like to speak. I don't know if you want to.
Well, are we gonna vote on this first, or are we gonna?
Madam Chair, I thought that you just voted on that amendment.
That's what I
And
thought.
that was 4-3.
All right, now they have it right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
All right, public comment, is there? I don't have that. Let's,
Can I
I
just
see.
ask, did we vote on the equity? I don't think we voted on
Yeah,
that.
we didn't vote on the equity.
Yeah, that you just second. Well,
Right.
yeah, Councilor Bova just seconded, but we never voted.
thought that was part of the last
That's what I
amendment.
thought. That was part of the last amendment.
So are we saying you voted on it? I don't recall. Just want clarity. Did we vote?
Oh, I'm fine with it.
Tom Shevlin, can you put that back up, screen share?
okay.
So that
Oh, I
resolved
see
right
what you're
there.
saying, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it was, yeah, the fairness of outcomes or two, and just removing that, adding equity only.
Right. Exactly.
It was seconded by Councilor Bova, and we didn't vote for it.
Okay. All in favor of the change of the amended version of the resolve, please raise your right hand. Are there any opposed?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I
What?
can't see everyone. I need the
Okay.
screen share to stop.
All
My
in favor,
apologies. Thank
all
you.
in
Okay.
favor of the amended last resolve, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Unanimous, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Now let's see, is there, let me just get the participants for public comment. I'm not getting the participants on.
I see Jen and Mitchell.
Okay. Thank you. You have been very patient. Please proceed, Jen.
Hi, my name's Jennifer Jackson. I live at 38 Dudley Ave. I want to thank council for talking about equity, but I am also here with a heavy heart. Watching the meeting and watching that, unfortunately, I may upset some, but seeing sometimes you guys can't even come together, it is heartbreaking. And yet here we are trying to do an equality or equity for our community, but yet our council has trouble finding a way to come together. And that just, to me, demonstrates the stronger passion and need for this. I mean, I'm heartbroken. I read this, the North End Urban Plan, and when NBBJ came in, people came and spoke. And a lot of people that live around where the North End Urban Plan is going to be developed weren't heard. What the community that is going to be directly impacted from it, a lot of things that their wishes weren't put on those lists. And I'm scared that moving forward, when we go on this, I want to be a part of it as a community member, as a resident of Newport, to be able to help with the equity. But yet it seems that the terminology to have community involvement seems to be a little not welcomed. And I don't want to go through an organization. I don't want to go through a nonprofit. I want to be able to go to city council, planning board, and whoever else that makes these laws, that put these actions into play. I want to sit at the table with them and speak to them about what the equality means to me. What equality means to me may be different than what it does to the person next to me. And together we need to speak open-mindedly with our biases not on the table. Our biases are to be put to the side, and we need clear lenses to hear the people. And I'm going to tell you how inequality happens here in Newport. Again, I am born and raised. Admiral Kalfis, there's one side of Admiral Kalfis, you want to refer to the residents as North End residents. I am not a North End resident. I am a Newport resident. Do not divide me from the city I live in. And I get upset about a lot of this. And I think equity, I'm not saying anything about anybody individual, but as a city, we need help with equity, diversity, and inclusiveness. And I think that this is a great step to the process of doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Katie Bean. Yes, proceed, please.
Good evening, Catherine Bien, 92 Bliss Road. I'll be brief. When I read in the Newport Daily News that 4 council members, Napolitano, Segley, Leonard, and Holder, all voted against the initial resolution, I was ashamed. However, I'm pleased to see that you are indeed committed to addressing equity concerns in Newport, just as long as your names are the ones that will get the recognition. It's ironic, if not unsettling, that the version we are moving forward with to address equity is the one drafted by several council members who last June were unwilling to publicly condemn white supremacy. It's almost as if you're only willing to discuss systemic inequality when it's on your own terms rather than on the terms of trained experts or those with actual lived experiences with structural inequality. But I won't waste our time discussing self-fulfilling prophecies. What I did want to say tonight was how important it is that the work that comes out of this resolution, we don't forget that education needs to be included and centered in this work. When you begin work like this, it is ongoing and needs to include the involvement of members of the community from all demographics and backgrounds and areas of expertise, not least of which are our teachers who work closely in working with all Newport children and addressing equity concerns we see in our city, our workplace, and the lives of our students. I look forward to watching very closely the work that you do and how closely you'll be including members of Newport as you move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Ida Neary?
Thanks, Ida Neary, 36 Newport Avenue, Newport, Rhode Island. I'm calling to say that I appreciate that the conversation is happening, as Jen and Katie have said. And my only comment would be that I do find it ironic that the bone of contention, the point on which the council got really stuck, was on members of the community's participation. And as a member of the community, it gives me pause and it makes me wonder, what is it about my participation or participation of members of the city of Newport? What is it that concerns you as a council so much that you would strike that from the record or find ways to talk about it without using the words members of the community? That's a question that I ask the council, and then I would ask the council to maybe just take on. I know you voted how you voted. Again, sitting here, listening to you as a member of the community, I am struck by how participation by members of the community seems to be a sticking point. Thank you for listening.
I'd like to address your comments. Certainly, no one has a problem with a member of the community being a part of the discussion. it was, again, we're talking wordsmithing and semantics. An ad hoc committee of members of the community, it just, to state that you don't know what the problem is with some of the council members that don't want the members of the community. We certainly do. We wouldn't be serving in our capacities if we didn't. So I do appreciate the people that have called in, but I just want to assure you that this will be very public and very much participatory on the part of the members in the community of Newport. Okay, now, next item.
Madam Chair, you have to vote on the resolution as amended.
Oh, okay. I make a motion to vote on the resolution as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Or discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilor Bova.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, once again, I want to say thank you to Councilor Segley for bringing this back. I really appreciated how you introduced this resolution and your willingness to continue to engage in this conversation. Something that has just been really clear to me, as we've had this conversation tonight over the past hour or so, is that there is a lot of difficulty in coming to consensus, and that it seems like there will continue to be a lot of difficulty in coming to consensus. And something else that Councilor Segley said kind of struck me and made me think of another option that we can move forward with potentially is, you mentioned that, we have to redo the comp plan every 10 years, and we're 5 years in. So I think that it would be good to see, in a couple of years, as we're looking at the next consultant, the next group that we're going to work with for another revisal of the comp plan, I think that when we go and find that group, we need to look for someone that specifically has experience in equity and planning and public policy, because, I think that we're going to work together as a council and a planning board and a community to try and get this as correct as we can. But I think my resolution last time stated my belief that we need to have an expert be a part of the process, and I still believe that. And I think perhaps like a compromise could be, the community does the work together now, and as we look at moving forward and finding the next organization that we work with for the comp plan, that we specifically find someone with that expertise and knowledge to work with us in a couple of years. I think that kind of is us being able to try to find the best of both options, especially because I still really strongly believe that in order for us to, say that we hold equity as a core tenet of our community, we have to make it a priority and make it something that we weave into every single thing that we do. And, I think that is a good way to move forward as we continue this conversation. I want to just also, say thank you to everyone from the public and, that everyone on the council who really gave good discussion and comments tonight. Obviously, this can be a really difficult thing to talk about, but that's why it's so important for us to keep talking about it. And I do really look forward to the meetings that we have as a large group, and if we do ad hoc and bringing in public and all of that, I think it will be really productive. And this conversation is so important, and I'm so glad that we're continuing. And I just thank you so much for bringing it up again, and thank you to everyone on the council for the passion and thirst for equity that has been brought to this discussion.
Thank you.
Councilor Leonard?
You just said we're going to vote on the entire amended resolution. I just want to see the last resolve, the final one.
Clerk, it's time to share that last screen, please. Thank you.
Right, that we changed and we corrected, amended was the one with the ad hoc committee.
Right.
And the rest is the same?
Yeah, it's the word language on equity into the comprehensive land use plan.
Yeah, that was the last thing we did, correct?
Right, right.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, I just raised my hand again because I saw another member of the public who.
Yeah, there's also another council member that had her hand raised. Councilor Segley, I'm sorry, I saw it before.
I'm all set. No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, there's a member of the public. Yes, proceed.
Hi, my name's Rex LeBeau. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and I live at 9 Brewer Street in Newport. And I had a question about the training. Kind of excited to hear that that was going to be happening, and I've gone to a number of different trainings, and something that I'll probably be doing for the rest of my life, hopefully. Yeah, with the Racial Equity Institute and the United Way and the Episcopal Church, Sacred Ground, and they've all been very, very good. So I'm wondering if the details of what the council and the planning board are going to be going through, if that's something that could be shared, and I'm really curious to.
They're still being worked out, the details, but once confirmed up, yes, we can share it.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other discussion? We have the amendments to this resolution. I move that we're going to do it as amended. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Madam Clerk?
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
A resolution requesting the city to enter into an agreement with Up Newport and the Newport Housing Authority to operate a children's bike trail in Newport Park.
Okay, well, this one should be a lot more fun. Easier. Councilman McCall, you're going to recuse yourself? Is that right? Okay.
Yes, yes. See ya.
First of all, I'm going to read the resolve. It says resolve that the city solicitor's office work with Up Newport and the Newport Housing Authority to effectuate the transaction described and to authorize the mayor to execute any and all license agreements on behalf of the city to carry forward this public-private children's recreation program. Now, and I move approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I do want to apologize that this did not go before all of the counselors before I got on the docket. It just squeaked out of the solicitor's office just in time to get it on the docket. So I didn't really have time to get support, because I'm sure that this is something that is going to be quite popular, but I hope. Anyway, Barry Freeman, the director of Newport, approached actually Councilor me and asked about the city's participation with Up Newport and the Housing Authority for this bike track. And it is up at the top of Sunset Boulevard, and it connects actually with Newport Park. And this would be a very safe recreational area for children. And I'm, always concerned about children's safety. And I think that this is a great project to bring forward to the children of Newport, because they can ride their bikes in a safe place in a fun way and also ride through the park. So the hang up really had to do with the insurance, and perhaps we could have Solicitor Bean talk about that a little bit. And I just want to thank the city manager for helping bring this forward, because I think this is really an exciting project for all of the kids of Newport, and it's located in the north end of the city.
Okay, I'm sorry, Councilor Segley, I missed what you wanted me to comment on.
That's just about the insurance end of it, that it's not going to cost and money for to the city. It's and just explain.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I lost sound there. Yes, we had the trust review the agreements, and our existing insurance coverage will certainly provide the needed coverage that the housing authority is looking for. Otherwise, it's going to be a license agreement, and there is no cost to the city for that license agreement. And of course, we're going to enter into a sub-license agreement with Bike Newport, and there will be, as a result, there will be no fee charged to them, because we are not, there's no cost to the city of doing the licensing. So our existing coverage will cover the city, so there is no money being with additional coverage or being paid to the housing authority for the license.
Thank you. Councilor Begley, did you move passage?
I did.
Okay. Any other discussion? I'd just like to thank you. I think this is a great activity for the kids, very safe, and thank you for the work in allowing this to happen. I think it's a good thing.
I'm very excited about it. So.
Thank you, Barry. Councilor Bova.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Councilor Segley as well, and also to just give a ton of props to Bike Newport and the work that they've done forever in Newport. And I think this is going to be awesome, and I hope that maybe adults could use it too.
Yeah, I see a caller someone, Jason Waterman was on the line. Is he still?
I know Barry.
Hand isn't raised anymore.
Oh, okay.
We have Barry Freeman.
Okay. Let's see. Yes. Proceed, Barry.
Yes, I just wanted to thank the council, to thank Lynn, Councilor Segley, for raising this resolution to make it understood that the Newport Housing Authority made an acre of unused property available to the kids of to all residents of the community by giving access to this acre of vacant lot and the ability to transform it with a lot of financial and human resources from numerous local agencies and organizations and funders. A lot of sources available to transform this property. And what you've now done is made it possible to build this children's track on that property. It's just a wonderful transformation of a previously unused space, and a wonderful collaboration between the city, the housing authority, and local agencies. So thank you very much, all of you.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Right, is there any other comments from the council? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed?
Motion passes unanimously, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
First reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 10.32 entitled Residential Parking Program to amend Section 10.32.100 entitled Designated Residential Parking District to add Annandale Road.
Yes, this is another one that I asked the city to work on to include the north side of Annandale Road to be able to have sticker parking. There was some strange loophole that prevented people from doing that. So this allows people to get residential stickers on that road. Thank you. I move approval.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Madam Chair, there is somebody from the public. I don't know. It's that Jason Waterman.
I think, whoops, Jason, were you?
Hi, yes, this is Jason.
Yes, you wanted to talk on the prior issue?
I had a question to ask that was not related to either ordinance, but I wasn't sure when to interject, so I didn't want to interrupt your train of thought.
Oh, okay, all right. Go ahead with your question, please.
Oh, so I meant to have joined during the road races conversation with the marathon that was being planned, and I was curious the outcome of that discussion.
We approved that.
It was approved.
We approved it.
So the date would be May 22nd.
Yes.
That's
great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next, let's see, I'm sorry.
But we need to vote.
Thank you, thank you. All right, all in favor of the amendment to chapter 1032, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Madam Clerk?
The motion passes unanimously, Madam Chair. Action number 5965.
Okay, so this is, are we dismissing this Karma Pizza Company?
Yeah, the city administration would withdraw this complaint.
Okay, so motion to withdraw.
Second.
There's a motion second to withdraw. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed?
Unanimous, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Action number 5966.
This is a recommendation from the Department of Public Services, recommends awarding bid 21-027 construction equipment and operator at Easton's Beach to Jam Construction Company, Inc., of Middletown, Rhode Island, for the period of April 1, 2021 to October 31, 2021, with a 3-year, 1-year option periods, same months, with a not to exceed annual total expenditure of $10,000 as specified in the bid contract documents, and this is currently budgeted. I move approval.
Second.
There's a motion second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Madam Clerk?
Unanimous, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Okay, motion to adjourn as council and convene as Board of License Commissioners.
There's a motion second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand.
Unanimous, Madam Chair. The consent calendar.
This is a communication from Moreno and Murphy are requesting permission on behalf of Connecticut Marine Services, Inc., holder of Class G liquor license to serve alcoholic beverages on board the Jamestown, the MV Catherine, and Coastal Queen. I move approval.
There a second?
Second.
There's a motion and second by Councilor Holder. Yes, questions? Councilor Leonard, sorry.
Yep. I'd like to know the hours of operation.
Is there someone here?
I asked that. Yeah.
If I may, it's what you're allowing is for them to serve alcohol. Well, first of all, the Class G license is a state license and allows them to serve alcohol while they're en route. The communities that they dock in may serve up to from a half hour before departure. they can serve while they're docked. So,
Okay, so the answer is 30 minutes before departure.
yeah, 30 minutes
Is that right?
before they leave the park.
Okay, thank you. Oh, that's what it was before. I don't know if, I didn't know if this was a change.
Okay, it doesn't seem to be. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed?
Unanimous, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
A public hearing on the application of Shiva Corp. DBA Downtown Liquors, Cotton's Court, holder of a Class A alcoholic beverage license to transfer the location to 202 Thames Street.
Madam Speaker, this is a public hearing. I motion to open the public hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the council? Is there any questions from the council?
Close the public hearing and approve.
Second.
There's a motion second to close the public hearing and approve the license. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Madam Clerk.
Motion is unanimous, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
2021 Class A liquor store Sunday selling license renewals.
I move approval.
There's a motion and second discussion. Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Madam Clerk?
Unanimous, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
A action item 5958, show cause hearing Mermaids Newport LLC.
Mr. Solicitor, I'm wondering if you could just fill us in on this and.
Yeah, they're in compliance, so we would dismiss the complaint.
Motion to dismiss.
There's a motion second to dismiss. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Unanimous, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Action number 5960, show cause hearing the Protective Club.
We're,
Solicitor.
we're going to ask that the council continue this to the May 12th council meeting. The licensee has had, the owner has had some significant issues. They are attempting to resolve it. They've resolved, I believe, all the issues except for tax clearance, and they're working on that, but there are definitely some extenuating circumstances here that I can fill in the council with, dealing with health issues and that. So that's why we're asking that be continued to May 12th. They've made substantial progress.
A motion to continue to the May 12th meeting.
Second.
There's a motion second to continue to the May 12th meeting. Discussion, hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Madam Clerk?
Unanimous, Madam Chair. Action number 5961, show cause hearing Pyramid Club.
Mr. Bean?
Yes, they are in compliance, and we would ask the council to dismiss.
A motion to dismiss.
Second.
There's a motion second to dismiss. Are there any questions from the council? Hearing none. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed?
Unanimous, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Seconded.
Third.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. Madam Clerk.
Unanimous, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
It was a difficult discussion tonight, but thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Marathon.